Brian Snook is a Unix systems administrator who has been with Earthlink for over 11 years. When he's not working on web servers or mail servers, he's often poking at Linux servers to learn more about administration. The love of figuring out how things work and go together extends to home, where he improves his woodworking skills and mostly enjoys the remodeling he's been continually doing on the house he and his wife bought in September 2005. In what passes for spare time, Brian enjoys watching Lost on TV with his wife, solving Sudoku puzzles, tinkering with computers, and spending time with his family. While they sometimes bounce off the walls while awake, his children are angels while asleep. Usually they fight even in their sleep. And thinks they are the most peaceful visions on earth. Brian grew up listening to his father describe the Toastmaster meetings he went to and gained a new understanding of his father when he held a summer job at the same company and got to see his father lead a meeting. Brian joined Toastmasters to strive for the same comfort at speaking he saw his father demonstrate. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Brian Snook. By the way, this is Icebreaker speaking.
Thank you. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, who am I? Few questions are simultaneously so simple and yet so complex. Our description could vary depending on our audience or even our own focus on one aspect or another of our experiences. As our own company tightens its belt and finds more ways to do things with fewer people, we find ourselves wearing multiple hats, as the saying goes. But work and home are not the only identities that we have. Robert Heinlein, science fiction author who himself had many careers throughout his life, had this to say about the experiences that we may take on and find in life. A human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship, design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equations, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, and die gallantly. Specialization is for insects. So who am I? This is what I would tell Robert Heinlein. I'm adept at changing diapers. My wife and I welcomed our third child in September, so I've had plenty of opportunity to hone the art. My wife would even say I've got it down to a science. While I'm a pacifist in life, I do enjoy the strategic challenges of planning an invasion in war games such as Risk and Axis and Allies. If I had not become a vegetarian, I was interested in learning how to butcher the animals that I ate, since I firmly believe that we as a society are too far removed from our role in the food chain, and we need to take responsibility for the fact that another animal must die that we may eat its flesh. My brother-in-law once, however, as a Jew by choice, a hog would never make it to my dinner plate. My brother-in-law once complimented me on my ability to steer his boat back to its mooring in the harbor. One day I hope to write down the plans that I have in my head for a detached garage and workshop. While I've never written a sonnet, I am particularly fond of haiku. I admire its simplicity, the way that it honors nature, and I feel it connects me to my Okinawan Japanese ancestry. I can balance accounts, and I'm quite proud of the fact that I saved money and ended up paying my student loans early. I once jacked up the center supporting wall of my house and reinforced it with concrete and steel beams from the crawl space underneath. While I've never set a bone, the closest I've come is helping to roll out the arms of friends in karate class after joint lock exercises. And a few months before I moved down to Atlanta, I held my grandfather's hand and comforted him as he lay in pain and confusion in bed. A few months after I moved down to Atlanta, he passed away. Much to my wife's chagrin, I'm not very good at taking orders. Fortunately, my boss gives me some discretion in taking on projects. Having a dog has taught me to give orders and expect that they will be followed without question. Becoming a father has taught me that I may give orders, but they may not be followed, and they will almost certainly be questioned. Asking friends for help in remodeling my house has taught me to seek cooperation and to provide direction without actually giving orders. That could be insulting to a friend. I'm constantly working on my ability to act alone. There are times at home that I try to take on too much of a project at once and do everything myself. I'm learning how to ask others for help when I need it. At the same time, at work, there are times that I seek peer review and ask for approval when I may not actually need it. I've reached a point in my career where I've become the resource that others seek out, and I should not be afraid to take that role on. Since the 4th grade, when I had an aptitude test where I took the total and relative numbers of animals and legs and figured out the numbers of sheep, cows, and chickens on a farm, I've been able to solve equations. As an adult, I was able to analyze a new problem and measure the height and the depth of the dormers on my house and use the arctangent to figure out how long to cut pieces of siding without climbing a ladder and figuring out where each piece would individually meet the sloped roof. I've always admired my grandmother's fruit and vegetable gardens, and once obtained an apartment manager's approval to carve out a little plot of land for my own garden. I then went to a nearby horse farm, lined the back of my minivan with tarps, and pitched in manure. It worked, it didn't stink afterwards. While I can program a VCR and I've written computer programs because I've never written an operating system, a network-aware service, or a program with a graphical user interface, I don't really consider myself to have programmed a computer yet. I can cook a tasty meal, and I took great enjoyment out of cooking themed meals for international film nights that I hosted with friends a number of years ago. Well, it's been a long time since I've either fought anyone after school or even taken a karate class. I don't know how efficiently I can fight, but when walking my dog through a park and seeing him threatened by a loose and aggressive Great Dane, I became very protective and thrust myself between them. Heaven help anyone who tries to hurt my children. And finally, while none of us wants to die an embarrassing or senseless death, I have to admit I have no plans to die gallantly anytime soon. I hope to live to an old age to enjoy both my children and hopefully one day grandchildren. Robert Heinlein was right. Specialization is for insects. We as human beings have so much ability to remake not only ourselves, but even the world around us. I too have many roles. I'm a father, a husband, a woodworker, a technologist and systems administrator, a lover of puzzles and especially Sudoku, and finally now, I'm also a Toastmaster. I look forward to learning more about each of you in the months and the years to come.
Very well done. Nice speech. Very good first one for Icebreaker. Mr. Timer, please give us a minute for evaluation.
Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. Brian, I was glad to hear you give your first speech. You've been joining us for a little while, and is he going to give a speech yet? I was happy to see it. And I think you did a great job. You came up and you immediately stepped in front of the lectern. Is good. It showed a degree of confidence and comfort in front of your audience that was very good to see, especially on somebody's first speech. That's always the most difficult. Even if you feel like you know the room, it's different when you're sitting there than when you're standing here. So I like that. And you've got a very strong speaking voice. You just projected, and everything that you said was very clear. You used a good amount of vocal variety. So we knew what was coming sort of in your speeches, like the comments about the diapers. We knew that that was definitely meant to be something that was going to put a smile on our faces. And you did a good job of that. I also liked the way you had your notes and you had a quote, a very, very long quote, and hardly looked at your notes. You had learned what he had said and knew how you were going to incorporate that. Now I noticed that you went back to that to find out, okay, I just finished talking about this, so this one's next. And that's exactly how you should be using notes. Instead of sitting there reading from them. I thought that was very well done. You looked very comfortable doing that, and it wasn't distracting. I think it was a perfect usage of notes. There were a few times where you looked like you were having problems. You were doing just what I just did there. Looking for a word, kind of stumbling over exactly what you wanted to say. I don't know if that was a matter of maybe practicing more, or if it was just a matter of something that will develop as you get more comfortable speaking in front of a group. I can't wait to see. Another thing that was asked was the order of your presentation. Was there clear beginning, middle, and end? You did a great job of doing that, making it smooth without saying, I'm going to talk about this, then I'm going to talk about this, then I'm going to talk about this. That speech, for your speech, it wasn't appropriate. And I thought that was handled very well. I think you had a very good use of humor, great body movements. You seemed very comfortable even with the camera on you. I applaud your efforts. Thank you.